So welcome to Using Google Maps. My name is Anna and I'll be presenting today. So we're going to start by going over a couple of Zoom's features. You can open the meeting in Zoom if you have the app downloaded in your phone or your computer. You can also open the meeting in the browser if you don't have the app downloaded. And then you can call into the meeting using the number that was sent to you through email. And you don't have to show your video, but video does help with communication. And then please mute yourself unless you're speaking, just to cut back on background noises and echoes. And you can unmute yourself if you do have any questions or comments, or use the chat function. And then the people icon is the participants, so you can see who's all in this meeting. And this meeting is being recorded so we can share with people so that they don't have to join a workshop at a specific time if they're not able to make it. So we're going to start with introductions. So just say your name, city, and have you used Google Maps before? So I'll start, and let me just stop sharing my screen so we can see each other. So my name is Anna, I live in Denver, and I use Google Maps for pretty much everything, even if it's to go to places I already know where they are, and that's to see if there's like traffic and stuff. So I find it pretty helpful. I'm just gonna call on people. So Angel.
Hi, I'm Angel. I live in Westminster and I work in Boulder. And I don't always use Google Maps because I have an iPhone, so my Maps app in my phone is what I use for driving. But I will use Google Maps when I want to go for a bike ride because I really like the biking options. And I'll also use it when I'm combining walking and taking the bus. I feel like it's a good app to do that multimodal trip between walking and busing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Aiden?
Hi everyone, I'm Aiden. I live in Erie and I also work in Boulder. And like Anna, I use Google Maps a lot, both just to plan out routes, both for driving and biking. And I even use it, especially now during COVID, sometimes for school projects to see what a place looks like when I can't go visit. So I use it all the time.
Yeah, and I remember using it for that during school too. Michael?
Yeah, my name is Michael. I became an ambassador just to help in the area. I'm new to Longmont. I've lived here about a year and a half, and when I moved here, it was being part of the RTD district where I moved from in Douglas County. I was not in the district, so I had more transportation options, and I was just trying to see what I could do to help others learn the system.
Thank you. And Lisa?
Well, I was already using some of the transportation because I had to stop driving. But I also wanted to help other people in the community because I feel that isolation is pretty deadly for seniors or disabled folks.
Thank you for sharing. So I'm going to share my screen again. So Angel, would you like to tell us a little bit about Mobility for All?
Yeah, so Mobility for All is a Boulder County program. We promote equitable, affordable, accessible transportation options for limited mobility individuals. And that's kind of a technical term, but basically anybody who has barriers to accessing transportation, whether it be because of income, so we serve a lot of low income folks. If people have mobility limitations, we help refer them to places that they can get transportation options. Or if they just don't know about the transportation options, we help them learn how to use all modes of transportation. So we really do take a multimodal approach, which means basically options. What we find is that a lot of people will be chugging along just fine until their car breaks down or they have to have a surgery and they aren't able to drive their car. And that really puts them in a vulnerable position. So we want people to have options and know how to use those options before there's a crisis and before their car breaks down or they have no other options. We do think that transportation is a linchpin service to accessing all other aspects of your life. So to get to the health, get to healthcare, get to the education, go to the library, all of those things need transportation. You want to go to the next slide, Anna? So before we really get started, I just want to acknowledge the COVID-19 pandemic because I know that it's affecting a lot of how we travel and a lot of our lives. So the pandemic has exposed inequities in our society. You see this in the fact that a lot of people can't go out because they're especially vulnerable to the virus, so they're not traveling places. There are also essential workers that have to go out and get to their jobs during this time, and they don't have the option of staying home. So we want to also acknowledge that people are changing how they travel. There are more people who are walking and biking for some of their trips, which is a great thing to do. But it's also making transportation more expensive because transportation providers have to clean the vehicles and disinfect high touch points. So in general, it's making transportation less affordable for some people. But one of the bright lights in all of this is that it's transforming service delivery. So you have transportation providers like Via Mobility Services or Accessoride who are delivering groceries to people who cannot leave their house. So we're hoping that even beyond the pandemic, some of those reverse delivery services will stay in place and help people live independently.
Thank you. So this is one workshop in a series that we have that include Lyft, Uber, Transit app, and RTD mobile tickets. And then we're also going to be making videos for each of these for y'all to watch. And our workshop goals are just to increase confidence using Google Maps and then connect people with our ambassadors. So Lisa, would you like to tell us more about the ambassadors and why you decided to join?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I stopped driving, and I'm part of True Pace, which is an all-inclusive care for the elderly. But I still wanted to go swimming and shopping and everything. And so I was doing that on my own, and I try to tell people at Pace, other older people go, well, I only get to go shopping when my daughter takes me. And so when Mobility for All came up, I thought it would be a great way to help others fight isolation.
Thank you. What about you, Michael? Why did you decide to become an ambassador?
I'm sorry, was that question for me?
Oh, yes. Just why did you decide to become an ambassador?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Lisa. Like I said in my introduction, I was new to Longmont. It was one way for me to learn my options for transportation while looking forward to helping others do the same.
Okay, well, thank you guys for sharing your experiences. So we wanted to point out that there are differences when using the apps in different types of phones, and that although it might look slightly different, it's still going to be the same idea. And then I also wanted to talk about safety because apps aren't perfect, so just use your intuition if something doesn't seem right. And then also it's important to keep an emergency contact number just in case your phone dies and you lose access to your contacts. So Google does collect your data, and if you want more information on what they do with that, then you can visit policies.google.com. So we have 3 things to go over. We have the handouts, which are part of this presentation that we're going to go through. And if you want one of the handouts, your ambassador can also send you a link to that for you to print. And then we also have the trip planning worksheet, which we'll go over after this. So Aiden, would you like to tell us about the trip planner worksheet?
Totally. So on the front of the worksheet, you'll find this page. So this is just kind of a quick rundown of the different apps that we cover in our workshops. They're on the left. So as you go through each workshop, you'll learn a little bit more about each one of these apps, as well as some additional transportation resources, because while these are very common apps that are important to know how to use, it's by no means comprehensive. So we do cover some of the other resources in the area, such as the RTD Trip Planner and Next Ride system, which has both a call number where RTD can help you trip plan, as well as their website, RTD Accessoride, Via Mobility, which was mentioned earlier, the taxi service in the area, which is Z-Trip, GoGo Grandparent, which they can arrange a Uber or Lyft ride for you if you don't have a smartphone. You just call into that number and they will help arrange it. It is a little bit more expensive, so I had to keep in mind, but can be an option. Dr. Mack, the Denver Regional Mobility and Access Council, they have a really wonderful Getting There guide that covers a ton of different transportation options for the region. It's really a great resource. The Area Agency on Aging, their resource line, Faith in Action, who's a volunteer driver program, although right now during COVID, I believe they're not taking rides, but long term, a really good resource to have in your back pocket, as well as Medical Intelleride, which is formerly known as VAO, but now is called Intelleride. So their numbers listed as well. So just some additional resources that we don't necessarily cover in the classes, but really can help flesh out your transit knowledge for the area, as well as a spot to write down that emergency contact number if you're going to be carrying this worksheet with you, because it does include all of those helpful phone numbers and contacts on it. So that's what you'll find on the front. On the back, you'll see this grid. So this is the trip planning document, all these different columns. So in one column, the date and time for your trip, your address or where it's starting from, where you're heading, and then how are you going to get there, what it costs, and any notes. So this is a great opportunity to plug in different addresses into these different applications and figure out which one fits your needs the best, getting you from one door to the other door, as well as factoring in the cost to really help you figure out which method is going to work best for which trip. I'd be curious if Lisa or Michael, if you have any examples of trips that you take regularly that you would put down on this trip planning worksheet that would help you out.
I have a goal for the coming year to go to the Denver Art Museum once a month on the free day.
Nice.
So
And for that,
to write down the options and have it.
Perfect. That would be a great use for the trip. Any that you would use it for, Michael?
Yeah, I can give an example. I visit a friend in Lakewood a couple times a month, and I use Google Maps to check different routes, whether I take from Longmont I-25 or take 287 as an option. So I find it very helpful to show me where accidents are or where congestion is going in either direction. Other times I use it for places I've never been before, gives me route information. And then, of course, the options of walking, driving, or using public transportation. I like to see what options I have.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you all for sharing. So what is Google Maps? Google Maps is a web-based mapping service which has several features such as street maps and satellite imagery, and then it allows you to plan your routes with different transportation options. So to get started, you would want to go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on what phone you have, and then just search Google Maps in the search bar. Just keep in mind that a lot of Androids do come with Google Maps pre-installed, so you might just want to look through your phone apps to see if you find it there. So when you're in the store, you just click on get and then it'll download. And when you first open it up, it's gonna ask to access your location. So you're gonna wanna click on one of these two options, whichever you're more comfortable with, just because it makes it a lot easier to plan your trips since it automatically inputs your starting point. So if you click on the first one, it means that it's gonna share your location as long as the app is open. And if you click on always allow, it's gonna collect your location anytime your device is on. So you don't have to have the app open for it to do that. So it's just whatever you're most comfortable with.
Excuse me, but doesn't that use more energy if you keep it on all the time?
I am not exactly sure about that. Does anybody else know?
It would use a little bit more battery power. I personally have it only on when I'm in the app, but yes, it would use a little bit more. I don't think it would be like significantly more battery than without it, but it is a good practice just to have it on while in the app if that's a concern.
Mm-hmm. And I think a reason why always allow is an option is that it helps show where that traffic is. So even if those people in traffic don't have the app open, it'll still show how many like cars are out there. So it's helpful in that way, but that's all up to you.
Yeah, I personally have it only when I'm in the app,
Mhm.
just because my phone does die pretty quickly, I feel like. So I always try to bring with me like a power bank, because these apps do use a little bit more of your battery life than just when you're not using them.
Mhm. And yeah, I also choose the only while using the app. So that might be just the best option for everybody. But once you open the app, this is going to be your home page. So up here you can see the search bar, which you can look for names of places, specific addresses, or even general terms. So you can search up restaurants or like coffee shops or something. And then down here where the white arrow is, if you click on that, it's going to show you your location on the map. And then the blue arrow under that opens up options for directions. On the bottom here, you can see an Explore Boulder tab. The Explore icon shows attractions and restaurants that are nearby. If you click on Commute in the middle, it's going to give you information about travel times and delays. And then any places you save are going to show up in the For You section. So if you want to get directions, one way to do that is by clicking on the blue directions arrow. This tab is going to pop up in the top of your phone, and then you just have to choose what destination you want to go to. Since if you allowed it to access your location, it's going to automatically put it in for your starting point. And then once you choose a destination, it's going to show you the different transportation options. So right here, you can see that we have driving, and then we have public transit, walking, ride sharing, and biking. And right here with the driving option, we can see that this blue line is the recommended route, which takes 7 minutes. It also shows you alternative routes in the gray right here. And it says that it's 3 minutes slower. So just depending on what you'd rather do, gives you options. And then if you go to the bottom where it says steps and click on that, it's going to give you a list of directions, kind of like back in the MapQuest days. And then if you click on start, it's going to start the navigator system. So let's say you get to your destination and you want to return. You just click on these arrows to flip the starting point and the destination. So an example of when you would use this is if you're going to a grocery store and then you want to see how you would get back home, you just click on that and then it shows a reverse route. So if you click on the public transit directions, it's going to give you a lot of information here. So first you have the options button on the right side, and you can set filters there, such as the least walking or fewest transfers. And then on the left side, you have this time that you can set to when you want to depart or when you want to arrive somewhere, which looks like this. So let's say you have a doctor's appointment at 5 p.m. and you want to get there at 4:45 just to give you time to arrive. Then you would want to click on arrive, set the date you want to leave, and then the time. And Google Maps is going to do all the math and stuff and tell you when to leave to get there at the time you want to get there. So if we go back to the buses, as you can see, so right here, this least walking option was a hop counterclockwise, which is what we chose here. So when you click on that option, this is what it shows you. It tells you that that rate's going to be, or that trip is going to be 18 minutes. So you're going to start from Pearl Street Mall and walk 1 minute to the bus stop on Pearl and get on the hop counterclockwise. Now, if you don't know where exactly to walk, if you click on that blue map icon on the right side, it's going to zoom into the walking portion of your trip, and then you can see exactly where you have to walk. So let's say you did that, you get on the bus, and it tells you on the right side the time it's going to arrive. So it says 5:31 p.m. And then you're going to be on it for 10 stops, which is around 15 minutes. And then you're going to get off on Colorado Avenue and 18th Street at 5:46. So it makes it super easy so that you don't get lost or get off on the wrong stop. And then after you get off, it tells you to walk for 3 minutes. And then again, you can click on that blue map icon, and then it'll show you exactly where to walk to get to your destination. If you click on walking, it's gonna show the blue dotted line. So that's the difference between walking and then using other forms of transportation. Where here you can see the blue dot or the solid line is a bus, and then the blue dotted line is walking. So that's how you know if you're in the right option, I guess. So here it says it's gonna take 23 minutes to walk from your destination or from your starting point to your destination. And this is helpful to use instead of just leaving it on the driving feature, just because this can take you through shortcuts like through the middle of parks or something like that, where you wouldn't be able to drive your vehicle. And then if you click on the rideshare icon, it's gonna compare Lyft and Uber, so you can compare the prices between the two. One thing to keep in mind is that you do have to have the apps downloaded on your phone if you want to use those options, because what it does is when you open the app, it's inputting your starting point and your destination into Lyft or Uber, so that you don't have to do that again. It just opens it up and then you just book a ride. And then for biking, it's kind of like the driving one, except it also gives you the elevation so that you can see if your ride is going to be flat or hilly. And then I'm going to share my tablet screen to do a demonstration. So if anybody has any questions, just ask. You can ask while I'm setting up.
Well, the other thing is if you don't have Uber or Lyft loaded down, we have workshops coming up for those, which you're welcome to join.
Yeah. We do offer, right now we have about one workshop a month that we're offering for people. Thanks for pointing that out, Lisa.
So you could have us pay for your transportation for a few months.
Okay, so when you open Google Maps, it's gonna look like this. And I'm gonna use Lisa's example of going to the Denver Art Museum, since she mentioned that she goes around once a month when they have those free days. So what we wanna do is on this, what was that?
It's a goal for next year.
Oh, okay, yes, which is fun because I used to do that a lot, at least before COVID. So we go to the top search bar, and we're just gonna put Denver Art Museum. And you don't have to know the address or anything, just, I mean, as you can see, it just popped up since I had just searched it up before. But if you put Denver Art Museum, it should just pop up without knowing anything else, and then just make sure it's the right option. And you can tell it by just clicking on it. And then it'll like even show pictures, so we know we have the right option clicked on there. So I'm gonna zoom out. So since we want directions for that, on the bottom left corner, I'm gonna click on directions. And right here, you can see that it shows the biking option, which would take an hour. And I'm just gonna go through all of these. So if we click on the ride sharing option, that'll take 22 minutes. On Lyft or on Uber, it'll cost $18 to $23, and on Lyft, $20 to $23. So just whatever one you want, you can just click on open app, and then it'll take you to the app to book your ride. And it even shows the cars that are around me. If we go to the walking option, we can see that that would take 3 hours, so we might not want to do that. So I'm gonna go to the RTD. And here we can see all the different buses we can take. So the earliest arrival is 50 minutes, so I'm gonna click on that one, which is the first option. So here you can see that from your location, it wants you to drive to the Thornton Park and Ride and take the 120X, which is the bus. If you don't have a car, it also gives you options for Uber, which shows that it'll be 7 minutes for $13 to $15. And then if you want to walk, it's 36 minutes. So let's say you drive or take an Uber to the park and ride, you get on the 120X to Union Station, and that's gonna pass by at 4:02 p.m. And here you can see it's only gonna make 3 stops, which is gonna take around 12 minutes. So once you get to a Union Station, you walk for 1 minute to the Bus Zero Highlands Ranch bus stop. And if we want to take a look at that, we're gonna click on the blue map icon on the right side. And this is what shows up. So like I said earlier, sometimes or just Google Maps is not perfect. So if something weird like this pops up, just use your intuition. And if you need to, you can ask around where the bus stop is to the Union Station workers. Let me go back. So when you get on that Bus Zero, it's gonna make 6 stops, which is around 15 minutes to Broadway and West 13th Avenue. And then from there, you're gonna get off and walk to the Denver Art Museum. And you can see that again by clicking on the map icon. And this is what it's gonna look like.
I have a question, Anna. How do you know that it makes 6 stops? Did you go over that? Did I miss it?
Let me go back. So right, if you see the solid line, so let's look at this green one. Right here, it gives you all the bus information. So towards the bottom, it says ride 3 stops, 12 minutes. And then if you click that, it opens up and then it says, or it shows the names of all the stops. So it just makes it easier to keep track of where you're going, and then it's harder to miss your stop.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thanks. And then also just, I want to point out that the bus will also announce that same like cross street information, like when you're getting close to it. So you also have like a verbal, like audio reminder as well. Thank you.
Here's another thing to point out, because I've seen this happen a lot, that people miss their stops because they don't pull on the cable on the bus. So sometimes they'll have a cable, or sometimes they'll have like a button you press if you want to get off, and if nobody presses it, sometimes the bus won't stop. So you want to make sure that you do that too. Did we want to show another? Did we want to do the group? exercise?
Yeah, I think we can go back to the presentation. I forget what the next slide is. I think it's group
Let me see.
practice.
I just have a quick question. RTD didn't always announce the stops, did they?
I'm pretty sure that they always have, I mean, they always have. There may be like times when it's broken, but
Mhm.
that's part of the Americans with Disabilities Act, that they have to have the verbal announcements for people who are low vision. So they do have an automatic system. And then they also have, like, I forget what it's called, like a little, like a flashy kiosk board that's at the top, right above the driver, that will like also show what the next stop is.
So I don't remember necessarily having that when I don't remember that as much when I first rode.
Yeah, sometimes they are broken, but I mean, they're supposed to have it because the ADA.
Good.
I'm gonna share my screen again. So we're gonna take this time to practice on our own. So if each of us could just search up a destination, and we'll just take a minute to do that and then come back and talk about what we found.
So I just did a search to Trader Joe's in Boulder. And I've never done the share screen, so I will click that and see if I get it. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Oh,
Oh, I have to click share. Sorry about that.
you're fine.
All right. So I have in here using public transportation. So I'd have to drive to the 8th and Kaufman Park and Ride. And then it's got a total of driving in transit of 1 hour and 56 minutes. And let me, I don't see the ride share option given to me here.
That's actually interesting. It might be because you do need to have the apps. So since I don't think there's like computer apps, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Maybe
not sure.
that's why. If I did it from my phone instead of my laptop, I probably would have the other options. Let's
Yeah.
just go to biking to see what that shows. And wow, it's about the same as driving and taking public transportation. Interesting.
Yeah.
Probably be slower for me. I'd have to stop a few times.
The one thing that I don't know if you want to scroll down, Michael. I don't know if you can see like below the elevation change that they have there. Actually, can you go to the transit again? Back up to transit.
Okay.
And then scroll down on that. Oh, right there. Sorry. The send directions to your phone. So I do this quite a bit. Like if I'm doing multiple trips within a day and I know that I'm going to be out and about, sometimes I'll like just check on my computer before I leave and plan out those trips, and then I'll send the link to my phone and it texts me the link, so then I can just click on that text message and it opens it up in the app on my phone. So I think that's a really good, yeah, that's a really good way to, if you feel a little bit more comfortable with the bigger screen on your computer, I think that's a really great way to plan on your desktop and then send it to the app on your phone.
Yeah, thank you. What about you, Lisa? What did you look up?
I was looking at, I love going to the rec center, so I was looking at the various ways that I could get there. Do you want me to share my screen?
I think that'd be nice.
Okay. Oh, okay, now he's not sharing. All right. So I was looking at Bob L. Burger, which is, it's nearby, and I realized, I mean, I generally will not take my walker across baseline, so I think walking is unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, going a mile and taking the bus would be $1.50, and I'd get there in 18 minutes, or I could take Lyft or Uber. For some reason, Uber didn't come up this time.
Yeah, I think it depends on how many vehicles are in the area, Lisa. So if you don't have very many Uber drivers driving around your neighborhood at this point, sometimes they don't come up as an option.
Oh, that's good to know. I think Lyft always comes up because there's a guy in the neighborhood who has the messiest car on earth, but he's always the one who comes. That's
Okay,
true.
you want to talk about what you found, Aiden?
Sure. So much like Lisa and Michael, where I'm living, there aren't a ton of Uber options around. But I looked up, I was feeling hungry, so I looked up a barbecue place in Longmont that I've ordered from but never been to see where it was. And it turns out it's only a 19-minute away drive from me, or a 51-minute bike ride. Or I could combine busing and biking, but it would take around an hour. So for me, I would probably drive it, but now I know where it is, and we'll probably go next week.
Oh, wow.
Cool. What about you, Angel?
So I searched up the Rocky Mountain Cancer Center because I'm a cancer survivor and I have to go for like routine checkups. And it's only one town over. So I live in Westminster and my Rocky Mountain Cancer Center is in Thornton. And I just compared how long it would take me to drive versus take the bus. And driving would take me about 19 minutes, whereas taking the bus would take me about 28 minutes. But I would have to do a transfer and walk across the street at one point. So I think that if it's nice weather out and there's no icy sidewalks, I'll probably take the bus next time I go.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys for doing this little fun activity. I'm going to share my screen again just to end the presentation. So your ambassadors are going to be able to give you a link to the survey, and what that does is it helps you get either credits or bus passes, whatever you choose. And that is the end of our presentation. So if you guys do have any other questions, you can contact us at this email, which is mobilityforall@bouldercounty.org.
And just one last question. What's the barbecue place you like, Aiden?
Georgia Boys in Longmont.
Ah, very good.
I've only ever ordered their, like, Longmont Dairy will deliver their meat, but I've never been to their actual location. So I didn't know where it was.
It's probably not indoor anymore. You'd have to just do takeout.
Exactly. Do takeout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching.